everyone. Welcome to one of my favorite days here at Tremendous Leadership. It is when I get the opportunity to interview one of our first-time authors with Tremendous Leadership on a new book coming out. And today, I have the great honor to introduce you to Cheryl Womack. Cheryl, thank you so much for being here.
Utterly my pleasure. You can't imagine.
I love it. Well, Cheryl has a book coming out, and it is titled How to Go to Camp. And the tagline is Surviving in a Women's Federal Prison. Okay, so I want to briefly tell you, and Cheryl's going to tell you a little bit about her story, but Cheryl is incredibly well known business empire builder in the trucking industry, primarily a male dominated environment, that then went from that to the stark reality of being inside a women's federal prison. So Cheryl and I connected about 4 years ago through a dear friend, and another one of our authors, Luann Mitchell, started talking about this. And about, I want to say about 6 months ago, August timeframe, Cheryl reemerged and said to me, it's time. So Cheryl, I am thrilled you chose us to bring this story. This is a serious story that affects so many people, and I'm glad you're out there sharing about what you went through. So let's talk about that. What did motivate you to share your story and how to go to camp?
Well, first, thank you for having me. And thank you for helping me get this book out. I started writing it while I was in prison in very rough forms and came in with pretty good notes I'm thankful for because it helped me put accurate details in the book that I might not have remembered as well. Everything may not be as current, but pretty current for camp. It doesn't change that much in a prison camp. First, I went to a prison camp instead of a higher security place, and that's a different experience unto itself. But I was motivated because when I went to camp, I really needed to have a purpose for being there. I
Mhm.
just, I felt like when I came out, I needed to do something with this information. I feel like God put me there for a reason. And the reason wasn't just to sit there and, you know, um, figure out what I was going to do next with my life. It was as while I was there, I taught entrepreneurship. I helped a lot of women. I helped them with Big Sisters. I became a town driver where I became very involved with a lot of the women. And I just knew I had to take this information. And I would say to the women, we need to have a book. We need to have information. And on that front, while as much as the women need information, because there's nothing out there that's not a rumor. It's just people telling you by word of mouth or
Yes.
very old, outdated books. And this book is a pretty factual, not too story given book on things that you need to know to get ready to go in. Prison's three parts: the part to get ready to go in, the part of I'm in prison and how do I survive and thrive and do okay in that environment, how to get out. And it's actually four parts. And then after you're out, how do you start over?
Mhm.
And
Absolutely. I'm
they're
sorry, Cheryl,
big.
go ahead.
No, and they're all each one a big part. And I think people need to understand that those are different parts of it. Like if you had an illness, and the other part I want to say is I think when you get involved with the legal system, you know you might have prison on the horizon, you better treat it like you just got told you have cancer. And what are you going to do to research and know everything about this that you can for you and your family?
Mhm. Well, for our listeners out there, I go in and I do prison ministry. So this is fascinating to me. I go into Male State Corrections Institute, but to see the women's side of it, and you look at some of the people like Chuck Colson and Paul that have been in prison, and some of
Right.
the greatest things that come out of that. But it is a how-to book, and I love the fact that you're talking about from the first minute it happens, and you don't wallow. You go right into it. It's going to happen, and here's what you need to do. And knowledge is power,
Right.
especially into that, and preparing the people that are still on the outside that go in there. So what do you hope that the women that might have this on the horizon, what do you hope they gain from your book?
Well, the first thing I hope they gain is a way to recover from the fear factor that absorbs and overwhelms you every day of your life. I mean,
Yes.
once you can finally climb out of bed, face your family, and start dealing with the stark realities,
Mm.
you really have some things to deal with and understand what to do. If your kids are going to go to a new school system because of wherever they're going to go live, you have to go meet the teachers or principal or somebody at that school so they understand what your child's going through.
Mhm.
Because part of what's in the book is talking about your family has a life too. Your family's going through it too.
Cheryl, what was the hardest thing? You've been really candid about the challenges. It's very even keel and balanced, but what was the hardest lesson that you learned during your time in the federal prison?
It's interesting to me that the discovery of the hardest thing that came out of this didn't come out of it until after I finished the book. And as we're going through writing the book and giving the advice that I'm giving, My friend who was helping me read back and forth and go through the different parts and help me find mistakes or the flow of it would say, "Did you do that?" And I would have to just humbly go, "No, I didn't." I'm giving you advice on how to talk to your kids. I'm giving you advice on how to set up the video chats in advance on a scheduled time. I'm making sure you keep connected. Now, I mean, I did stay connected with my boys, and I have older sons, but I didn't stay connected with them enough. I didn't talk to them enough about how I felt about it, what made me afraid, what didn't make me afraid. I didn't talk to them about how they felt about it.
Mm,
I didn't talk to them about how can I help you feel okay about this in your life? What kind of things can we talk about that I can have you explain this situation?
beautiful. You
Those kinds
also,
of things.
well, absolutely. You also have some comments where you talk about in one chapter that it's really not about you. You know what I'm saying? That you have to quit the thumb sucking and realize, hey, the people and the stigma about throw, well, they're a felon, or the stigma in our society about this. And you have to realize that they're on the outside dealing with all of that.
Yes. The unusual. So I go through two situations, and the entire Women of Worth charitable foundation that's behind this. It's all about, I believe women are an invisible participant in prison.
Mm,
While we're a growing number and we're the fastest growing segment of the prison population, most people don't realize how many women are in prison or how they go to prison.
mhm.
And more importantly, they don't understand that when a man goes to prison, it's a terrible thing. But often there's a nucleus left behind, a mother, a wife, a sister, somebody to hold that family nucleus together. When a woman goes to prison, you just blew up the nucleus.
Right.
More than likely, it's been broken in some or damaged in some serious capacity.
Mhm.
And so the damage happening to society at large is far greater for a woman to go to prison. So if we're going in bigger numbers than ever before, there's some things to talk about to try to get in front of what can we do about that.
I love it. And that's what this book is. Look, it is what it is. We're going to get in front of it. But you also have a lot of things in the book that I read. Like I said, having been visit prison, I come out, but you talk about the communities that build. You even said the word about the entrepreneurship, the women that are so talented and that take care of each other. And can you express some of the things that surprise you and how you form bonds and almost a little community within the prison system?
Well, that was another surprise that came to me after I spent time in prison and bonded so deeply, especially with original girls that I spent time in the bus stop with. And they were the troublemakers. But after we made peace and got along and got some ground rules set, because I was definitely one of the oldest ones on campus, um, then they became like my kids.
Mm,
And I understand why men go to war militarily and have this lifelong bond, which I
mhm.
don't think I ever understood before. I just don't
Right,
think, I mean, I knew they had it, but you don't know. I feel it now. I know it. I understand it. I have that kind of empathy and concern for the people that I knew, and now for more people that I don't know, but certainly for the people that I have kept in contact with and watched. Some of them have to go back to prison now, and from different hard situations, and sometimes not their fault, sometimes was their fault. It is such a bond. It will last forever. And I probably could have been one of those people who let him go to jail and rot before I went to jail. And
yes,
okay, we can let them go to jail and rot at what price to society, what price to their family. You're spending a lot of money to put them in there. You want to just punish them and
right,
then bring them back out where nothing's fixed and you just do it again?
right.
How can you keep wasting money like that?
Well, and you talk about that, that was kind of the next question is how did this influence you? And before we started recording, you really were talking about your sense of empathy now. I
Yeah,
mean, we're pretty much justice girls, this is right, this is wrong,
right.
and we can tend to be a little hard, but now you've seen this and I can hear it in your voice and in the book that none of us is perfect. But
No.
I'll take a sinner over a hypocrite any day, and we have to do something with grace and mercy in the system. So can you tell us how that has transformed your outlook in life and honestly share what you're doing now with your follow-on with the Women of Worth?
Right. So what's happening a lot, and grace is a perfect word for it, because we need grace. Those of us who've had this experience, we've been punished. We've been taken out of society. We've been isolated. We've learned to do amazing things. If we've spent the time right, learned more about ourselves, learned more about life. I spent more time in prison feeling sorry for myself and saying I don't want to know about the outside world than I wish I would have. And I had very generous, nice people sending me cards and looking out for me and taking care of me and visitors and all of the lovely things. I was the mail queen there. I had so many things coming in all the time. So
Mm,
I was actually spoiled while I was in prison. And when you get out, and I'm watching so many of my other friends struggle to keep their relationships and their families together, a lot of it is because you didn't have enough empathy to realize how to help. I mean, I didn't help my kids get through it right. I didn't say, "How can I talk to you? What can I do for you as my child who's going through this like I'm going through this?" Because you don't go through it alone.
Right.
Everybody who's close to you is embarrassed by it. They're
Mhm.
struggling through it. They're hurting for you. They're afraid for you. When my oldest son, who was almost 38, came and saw me, we'd set up a safety word so that if anything was ever wrong and I couldn't talk, I could just give a safe word.
Mhm.
And all he could do when he came in is come and grab my cheeks and go, "Do you need to tell me a safe word?" And he said it to me two or three times because he just couldn't believe it. He's like, "You sure you're okay? You sure you're okay?" It just like now it just
Well, they're
makes you
scared to death because if you
they're
haven't been in,
so
you
afraid.
don't know. You just imagine the worst or what you see on TV. And
And
it's
God knows
very
when
scary.
you come in, there's no good way to come in because you're treated like a prisoner when you come in
Yeah.
on a minimal scale. So what you just went through that you're not used to, you're just trying to imagine what your mother is going through now.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so sure, the book is if you're watching this, it's launch day. It's the beginning of March, and I encourage everybody to go out there and grab a copy, share, and even if you know somebody that's in, this will really help you. Like I said, Cheryl goes through it all: how to prepare, how to build lasting bonds on the outside, what to do financially with houses and cars. I mean, it goes in detail through absolutely everything. But what's next now that the book is being released?
Well, with the book coming out, we've also got a children's book coming out that I like the children's book because it helps share with the illustrations the interior of a camp so that this book can be shared with your family at whatever age. And it's a love poem to from a mother to their child.
Mm,
Basically letting them know that I always love you everywhere.
yeah.
You're never out of thought or mind. And but it also helps them say, look, this is the iron we use to cook our food. There's a spork we use for our food. Here's what my room looks like. Here's what the campus looks like so that whatever age the kids, they can visually take in a little bit more of the life that you have. And I feel like then be a little more involved in it. So that's one thing. We're also going to, as a foundation, start working on my biggest thing I want to do is I want to work on continuing education classes. While the whole world wants to help the person who's been to jail, for us really to make a difference, I think that I'm going to have to look at the system at large. How do you help counselors, people who are working with social workers, children's services, the attorneys that are putting people in or helping people get out of prison so that they understand the system more? Because they don't. When I got put in prison by and had an attorney who was a very knowledgeable attorney about the whole sentencing system. He knew nothing about what was going to happen to me once I went in.
Oh,
Nothing.
right,
And I don't think most of them do. So
right.
I want continuing education classes that I'm going to work toward to where we're training everybody who's involved with the criminal system to learn more about all the parts of it and how it affects the women.
Hmm. Well,
I
you
mean,
also
something
talk
just
about,
as simple as women
yeah,
wear men's clothes. I
right,
mean,
right,
it's not funny if you don't know because
right.
you're sort of horrified. And then the other part that's interesting about that is women wear men's clothes, and if they're too big and you get them tailored, now you can get in trouble for altering government property. So, I mean, everything you do can get you in trouble in prison, but everything you do is done against the rules. It's
Hmm.
such a dichotomy, and you need to know that. You need to
Yes,
know
you,
what do you
that's
get
it.
away
Knowledge
with.
is power. Right.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Well, and I
Exactly.
also like that you really help people understand when you get in, the minute your name is on that police blotter or whatever, you're a target for unscrupulous people that are going to come in and promise you the world. And you also talk about that too. So you need to know so you can protect yourself and your family can protect you too, as well as because you're going to make emotional or decisions you may not with this false hope or somebody's selling you a bill of goods. So you really unpack that too.
Right, good. Yeah, and again, I think it's very factual, and I hope to do another book as a follow-up that gets a little more into the war stories of being in a camp or dealing with prison. And the other part, I hope that if women can learn to wear going to prison when they come out as a scarlet letter, almost badge of honor for coming
Yes.
out being in a better place, we can begin to reduce the stigma of being in prison
Mhm.
because you would live and breathe that by trying to get a place to live, by opening up a bank account, by all the different getting a job, all the different things that you have to do. The first thing you have to do is just get over the fact that this has happened to you. And so I think one of the hardest things for me to do is say is I'm really ready to come out there being as successful as I was globally, doing things all over the world and tell everybody, I'm a felon and I've gone to jail. And I can't tell you the times that I'll sit and tell a group of people, that I've been to prison, and then they'll put their heads down, almost embarrassed, and tell me somebody they know was in prison, or they've been to prison. I'm like, did I just tell you I was in prison?
Well, and maybe and they're probably like, I can't believe it. I can't. Well, I
They
just love
can't.
it because you know how many friends and family I have that
Yes.
have been, and then they're like, and especially if it happens to them when they're younger, they're like, well, that's it. They are so fractured and embarrassed, they can't get
Yes.
past it. And so, what word of hope? I hope and pray it gets to somebody out there, or a parent or a guardian, to let them know, okay, it happened, you did it. But what would you say to them?
Well,
What word of
again,
encouragement?
even if it's drugs and everybody knows how habitual drugs are or what a problem that is, you get them in their cleanest, most motivated position when they've spent any time in prison to come out. We've
Mm,
got to find a way to put them in safe environments,
mm.
away from the situations that cause them to do drugs and the people, which could also be very hard. And again, it's going to take strong women who've come out with conviction, maybe some older women. The other thing I'm going to tell you is for somebody who's 74 years old, at 50, I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. Where was I going because I'd sold my business. At 74, I'm starting on a whole new journey that I'll think will take the next 20 years of my life. So if you're in prison and you're young, honey, you got 2 or 3 lives left to go.
That's about as encouraging as it can be. That's beautiful, Cheryl. Thank you so much. Anything else for our listeners? And I'm glad you brought your kids' book up, because that'll be releasing too. Very excited to have that.
Yes.
Anything else, Cheryl, before we leave our readers to get off and come on our site or Amazon and order your book right now?
I just encourage them to watch for us on TikTok, YouTube, any social media platforms. We're going to look toward doing 3/4 way homes, partnering with some other people that are already doing them. As a business person, I figured out a lot of the financial and physical structure things that women need to be able to break back at men too, but I'm trying to be focused on women because I just think they're overlooked.
That's
So
your
this is
market, right? Yeah,
and this is not anti-men. This is
right.
just,
Not at
I've got
all.
to come out and help women. I've got to
Right.
come out. These women just need help. And there wasn't a woman in there who wasn't excited when I was there telling them I was writing the book and I'd read the opening or something, didn't say, oh my gosh, I love this.
Oh,
So
that's
I
beautiful.
encourage them to get involved, write, ask questions, communicate with me. I'm not here to fix the problems. I'm not here to be an attorney or a social worker, but I am here to help give you, if you want hard facts about things that you need to do before, during, or after for prison, but explained a little better than the book. I'm here to help you with that, but I'm not here to fix your problems. You've got to do it yourself.
Right, and I love it. And connect with Cheryl. She'll have we'll have the links and everything for her organization. If it is laid on your heart, hey, I want to help. I may not know somebody in there, but I know prison
Yes.
ministry for me. I will let go of everything else except that. It's just
Yeah.
that. Oh, it's just that rewarding. So, Cheryl, thank you again for the honor of publishing your 2 books, and I just pray it goes far and wide. And I thank you for just sharing this with so many people who need to hear this.
Thank you. I hope it reaches a lot of people who need the help with it. And I can't thank you enough for your help.
You're welcome. And to our tremendous fans out there, remember, you're going to be the same person 5 years from now that you are today, except for 2 things: the people you meet and the books you read. So you just met an incredibly tremendous individual. And I hope you get her book and share it with somebody else to encourage Cheryl and all the work that she is doing. Keep on being tremendous. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye bye.